Mike, thanks so much for being a part of Chargeside Chats. We're here at Gridserve today, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions around electrics and your EV in particular.
Okay.
So how long have you been driving an electric car?
Just over 5 years now.
5 years, and have you driven the Tesla for the full 5 years?
Yep, it's just been this one.
Really? And
Yep.
so 5 years ago, taking you back, what made you make the switch to an electric vehicle?
So it was kind of, I was coming out of Dieselgate car and
Yep.
was trying to decide what to get. I looked at the hybrids and didn't really like them particularly, and kind of looking at the credentials, most of my driving was motorway, so it made sense to get something as kind of ecologically friendly as possible that I could think of. And at the same time, I wanted to get, well, I'm a tech kind of person. I enjoy sort of technology, so it kind of appealed to me in that respect as well. So yeah, I decided let's give electric a go.
Yeah, and what is the mile range on your Tesla?
So it's about 220 on this one.
220.
Yeah.
Is that affected by your driving style, or is it quite consistently around that?
Oh, it's affected by my driving style, the road conditions, sort of the speed you're doing in general, the type of roads. There's so many things that affect it. Even the wheels you have on it make a difference.
Really?
So there's a lot of variety. I mean, but it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Because most of the time what I'll do is if I want to go somewhere, I'll just tell the car I want to go there, and it then tells me, well, you need to charge here for a little bit. So I'll then stop off on the way and charge up for the 20 minutes or whatever it is that it wants me to supercharge for, and that'll get me there.
Yeah, and do you think this electric car fits into your lifestyle, or do you feel like you've had to change the ways you would normally have gone about things maybe 5 years ago, or has it been quite an easy transition?
There's definite differences, and it's important. I think you gain with some bits and you lose with others. So, like for example, I don't have to go and specifically go and refuel the car like you would normally, but at the same time I do have to make consideration if I'm on a longer journey. So if I'm going to do sort of I go to Yorkshire every so often, so driving up from Essex to Yorkshire and back again is obviously well outside the range of the car. So what I do is I have to make sure that when I'm going there I know where I'm going to charge up, and maybe a tiny bit of planning occasionally, but as I said, most of the time the nav will tell me where I can go and charge up, so that's what I do.
So do you have to rely on an app, or like you said, is there an app in Tesla specifically that you can use, or?
So the car itself has a
Yeah.
map of all its superchargers, so it knows where you can go. So when I've driven to done 2 trips to Germany, for example, and with that I literally just go, I'm going here, and it will then tell me all the different superchargers to pick up along the way, and there's no real planning for me to do. But sometimes if I'm like looking for a hotel or somewhere I'm going to stay away, then I'll look for one that's got a charger at it, and that's a little bit of extra planning, but it's not too much. It just affects my choice of where I go.
And have you ever had an experience where you've been going, say, to Yorkshire, like you said, you go a few times, where you've had a trouble or been low on charge and had any problems, or have you not really?
I think there was probably one occasion where I had to be a little bit careful, and that was about it. And that was because they closed the motorway and sent me off on a ridiculous diversion, and that was actually in Kent, and I ended up having to go to a different supercharger, and it just meant that I was a little bit cautious, so I went a bit slow for a little bit.
What's your favourite thing about driving an electric?
It's got to be the performance, because it's just so responsive. It's not even just the acceleration. It's that when you use the accelerator, it immediately responds. So with petrol, you've got kind of gearboxes and lag and so on, and it's just instantaneous. So you coupled with the performance, especially with Teslas, they're pretty high performance cars, you can just pick a spot and you want to get there and you're there. And I think that's probably the best bit about electric is just the driving experience is far better than anything else.
Do you feel like you really are living in the future now, or do you feel like there's a lot more to come?
I would say that with ICE vehicles, I don't know what there is really that you can add to them. They've kind of been around so long that really it's just layers of technology on it. The thing about electric cars is they aren't anything other than cars. They're just cars. They've just got a different drivetrain. So you can rip the petrol engine out and put something else in, and people have done that with sort of classic cars.
Yeah.
And I think that that kind of distinction isn't really there. It's about sort of, the modern car is futuristic by sort of standards from years ago.
Yeah, no, that's a
But
good point.
Tesla especially, the giant screen just kind of does everything, is cool.
I think one thing which I'll ask, maybe a concern for a lot of people, being the range anxiety. Do you see that being a problem, or do you feel like over the last few years the range of electric cars has grown a lot? Or
So I picked the Tesla because it had over 200 miles range, and that was the only car that had that at the time.
Yeah.
Literally, there was nothing else available, and so it had to be that. But the number of cars now with over 200 miles range is enormous. Like, when you consider that there was pretty much one car you could pick from, and now actually there's sort of tens and tens of cars. Comparatively, it's a lot, and it's growing all the time. There's new ones coming out that appeal to everybody. There's a different model, a different design, and the prices are dropping as well. So you can now get sort of cars of that sort of range for well under 25k, whereas when I was looking, it was 60k plus for that kind of range. So I think, there's a lot more options, and there is that range available. And when you couple that with more charging available, I think that really makes it viable.
And if money was no object,
Yep.
what electric vehicle would you go for?
If money was no object, literally no object.
No object at all.
See, I'm torn. I would love to. I'd love to get the Tesla Model S Plaid, because it's just insane performance, and it's a practical car as well. So I guess that. But the Rimac looks kind of cool as well. But they're over £1 million each.
Wow. What would you say to someone who is really interested in the idea of electric, but they're not ready to make the switch just yet?
Give it a test drive if you can. There's lots of companies making test drives available now, because a lot of it is down to the experience of you getting it. Actually, they're really fun to drive, and that will win you over. And I'd say there's also companies that are offering monthly rentals where you can just rent a car for a month, and it includes all the bills. No commitment beyond that, so you could give one a try and see how you get on with it for a month. And that's really where it comes down to, is trying something for a day really doesn't give you a true experience. Trying it for a month as your day-to-day drive really shows you what it's like to live with an electric car. And they're far easier as long as you can charge at home or wherever you're parking. You don't even have to think about charging most of the time, because you just plug it in and forget. Charge side chats.